You've been lied to, not by the media, not by your enemies, and not even by those who claimed to love you. You've been deceived by your own mind, that voice in your head telling you what's possible, what's safe, what you're capable of. That voice isn't really you. It's the echo of years of conditioning, fears you inherited, and programs you never agreed to install. And until you question it, until you grab the reins, it will continue to shape your life in ways you never intended. Right now, take a breath. Look around you. The place you're sitting, the decisions that led you here, the thoughts running through your mind at this very moment. They are not the product of conscious choice. They are the outcome of invisible scripts playing beneath the surface. Scripts written long before you were aware they existed. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? I want you to remember that moment, because it might just be the second you woke up. See, the greatest enemy you will ever face isn't some external force. It's not your boss, your debt, your critics, or your past. It's the internal operating system running inside your head, quietly dictating how you react, what you avoid, what you fear, and what you never even attempt. And what's terrifying is that most people never realize this. They spend their lives reacting to the world, never realizing they're being steered by programs they didn't install. But you're here because something in you suspects there's more. And you're right. You believe you're in control, but science tells a different story. Your decisions? Most of them are made milliseconds before you're even aware of them. Your reactions? Crafted from patterns ingrained years ago, usually when you were a child. That panic you feel in social settings, that hesitation before you speak up, that pull to stay small. All programmed responses, and the more you obey them, the deeper the pattern digs in. This isn't philosophy, it's neuroscience, it's biology, it's your reality. But here's the good news. What has been programmed can be reprogrammed. That mental chatter, it can be quieted. Those limits, they can be broken. That fog of confusion and hesitation that hangs over your goals, you can clear it if you're willing to fight for control. Imagine a world where you choose your thoughts, where your mind doesn't react, but responds, where your focus is razor sharp, where emotions don't rule you, but inform you, where fear becomes a signal to move forward, not an anchor holding you back. That world is not a fantasy. It's waiting on the other side of mental mastery. To get there, you'll need to understand one thing. The mind is like a wild horse, beautiful, powerful, untamed. Left to itself, it will run in circles, chase illusions, and flee from shadows. But trained, it becomes your greatest ally. It carries you forward with confidence, direction, and speed. This is not about reading quotes or repeating affirmations into a mirror hoping they stick. It's not about faking confidence or pretending to be fearless. It's about rewiring your internal world until the new becomes natural, until fear no longer screams but whispers, until doubt no longer delays but disappears, until your mind becomes your most loyal weapon, not your biggest weakness. But to begin, you must first accept this. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not even your habits. You are the observer. You are the one behind it all. And the moment you claim that seat of power, everything begins to change. You've been living under the illusion of choice, the illusion that every decision was yours. But if you've ever promised yourself change, only to break it days later, then you've seen the truth. You've witnessed how fast your subconscious overrides your will. So here's the question. Are you ready to challenge the programming? Are you ready to override the defaults? Are you ready to become the architect, not the puppet? Because the war for your mind doesn't begin out there. It starts in here. And if you're ready, the first step is to expose the hidden mechanisms controlling your life. To reveal how thoughts are formed, where emotions come from, and why some people break free while others remain prisoners of their patterns. But don't just listen, observe, question, interrupt. Because in the next chapter, we will dissect the machine. You will see how your own mind was wired to sabotage you and how to take the first tool to rewrite its code. The story doesn't end here. It begins with the hidden program that's been steering your life all along. You wake up and scroll your phone without thinking. You take the same route to work. You react to your partner's tone the same way you always have. And you tell yourself it's just who you are. But what if none of that is you? What if every hesitation, every unspoken thought, every instinctive reaction is the echo of something that was installed in you long ago? Your mind runs on patterns, deep, unseen, automatic. They are your default operating system. And if you've ever wondered why you can't stop procrastinating, why you keep sabotaging relationships, why no amount of motivation seems to last, this is where the truth lies. Behind every behavior is a program, and behind every program is a moment, an emotion, a belief you didn't choose, but absorbed. As children, our brains are in a constant state of openness. We absorb without judgment, without filter. Our subconscious is hungry, thirsty, eager to make sense of the world. So when someone says, "You're not good enough," or "That's dangerous," or "Money is hard to come by," your mind stores it, not as opinion, but as truth. You didn't evaluate those beliefs. You didn't debate them. You were too young. You simply recorded them. And the more often you heard them, the deeper they settled into your nervous system. Repetition isn't just how we learn multiplication tables. It's how we build identities. And now, years later, those same statements have become the lens through which you see the world. They don't feel like someone else's voice anymore. They feel like your own. That's the danger of unconscious programming. It becomes so familiar you think it's who you are, but it's not. If someone hands you a map, and that map is flawed, you'll get lost. No matter how hard you try, how fast you move, how much you care. It's not your effort that's broken. It's the instructions. That's your mind. It's not failing you because you're lazy or weak or flawed. It's following directions. And unless you update those directions, you'll keep ending up in the same place. That's why it's not enough to will yourself into success. You have to edit the blueprint. You have to interrupt the signal and ask, who wrote this code? Who installed these beliefs? And more importantly, do they serve me? You'd be shocked to discover how many people live out scripts they didn't author. Fear of failure that traces back to a teacher's ridicule. Self-worth issues born from a parent's perfectionism. A scarcity mindset picked up just by observing arguments over money. And here's where it gets even deeper. Your mind is not neutral. It doesn't evaluate data objectively. It confirms what it already believes. If you think you're unworthy, your mind will filter out praise and highlight criticism. If you believe life is hard, your focus will always land on what's wrong, not what's working. That's the reticular activating system, a fancy name for the mental gatekeeper that decides what information you notice. It's constantly sorting reality, giving you only what aligns with your programming, which means even if abundance is all around you, you won't see it. Even if love is offered freely, you won't feel it. Even if opportunity knocks, you won't open the door, because your internal script doesn't allow it. That's not fate. That's not the universe testing you. That's a system doing exactly what it was trained to do: protect the beliefs it holds. So, if you want to change your life, you need to change what your subconscious believes is normal. You don't fight the pattern, you replace it. You install a new one that says confidence is safe, one that says success is expected, one that says love is deserved. And it starts with awareness, not judgment, not shame, just raw, radical awareness. Start noticing. What thought shows up when you're about to speak your mind? What emotion hits when someone praises you? What impulse grabs you when things go well? Do you celebrate or sabotage? These are the fingerprints of your programming. They reveal the original script. And here's the shift. You are not stuck because you're broken. You're stuck because the system is running outdated code. You've outgrown the mind you inherited. Now it's time to become the engineer. And just like a computer that needs a new operating system, your subconscious needs new inputs. Repeatedly, deliberately, and with intensity. Because if you don't take control, someone else will. Media, marketing, family, trauma, society, all of them are fighting to install their version of reality in you. But the moment you choose your own beliefs, the moment you actively program your subconscious with thoughts that serve your growth, you take back the steering wheel. So ask yourself this: what program has been running your life? And are you willing to uninstall it? Even if it's familiar, even if it's comfortable, even if it feels like you. Because in the next chapter, we don't just observe the blueprint, we start rewriting it. You walk through your life believing you're seeing the truth. But what you're really seeing is a filtered version of reality, one that matches what your subconscious mind already believes. That filter is invisible, but its effects are everywhere. It shapes what you notice, what you ignore, what you pursue, and what you push away. Two people walk into the same room. One sees opportunity, the other sees risk. One notices who smiled, the other who frowned. The room didn't change. The filter did. And the filter is your subconscious programming. This mental filter is always on. It's your internal lens, and its settings are based on every belief you've accepted, true or false, helpful or destructive. And the longer those settings remain untouched, the more they dictate your future without your permission. Let's break it down. Your subconscious mind is a pattern-detecting machine. Its job isn't to give you objective truth. It's to give you consistency. If it believes you're unworthy, it will reject praise. If it believes you're always in danger, it will constantly seek threats. And if it believes success is reserved for other people, it will subtly sabotage you before you get too close to anything good. This isn't weakness. It's not even personal. It's wiring. But wiring can be changed. Have you ever bought a new car and suddenly seen it everywhere? That's your reticular activating system, RAS, at work. Once something becomes relevant to your subconscious, your brain starts finding evidence of it. The same thing happens with beliefs. If you believe you're a failure, your RAS filters out your wins and spotlights your losses. If you believe the world is against you, your mind will ignore kindness and hone in on every slight. You don't see reality. You see what you're trained to see, and that's the root of the problem. If your mental blueprint was built from fear, criticism, rejection, or limitation, then your filter will keep producing more of the same. That's why change is so hard. You're not fighting the world. You're fighting the filter that shapes it. Let's take this further. Imagine a child growing up in a home where love was conditional, where affection had to be earned. That child doesn't just develop behaviors, they develop beliefs. I must perform to be valued. That belief, stored deep in the subconscious, becomes the filter. And as an adult, they might become hyperachievers, unable to rest, addicted to approval. Or they might become avoidant, fearing any situation where love could be withdrawn. The external life looks different. but the filter is the same. That's how powerful your subconscious programming is. It becomes the silent architect of your reality. But the most dangerous part? You don't even know it's happening. You think it's just who you are. You think, I'm just not confident. Or, I've always been anxious. Or, I guess love just isn't for me. No, those are not facts. They're filters. And you didn't choose them. They were installed. But now, you can choose to override them. Let's be clear. The mind isn't rigid. It's malleable. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself, proves that even the deepest patterns can be reshaped. But the filter doesn't change just because you want it to. It changes when you flood it with new evidence. Let's say you want to believe that you are worthy, that you are capable, that success is possible. You don't just repeat these words. You start looking for proof. Small wins, daily progress, reinforcement from people who uplift you instead of tear you down. Each time you catch your mind filtering reality in the old way, you interrupt it. You ask, is this truth? Or is this just the lens I'm seeing through? And every time you challenge the filter, it weakens. This is how you reclaim control. By questioning everything your subconscious has accepted as normal. Not in anger, not in rebellion, but in clarity. Because the life you want to live already exists. The love, the freedom, the peace, the abundance, they're all there. But if your filter doesn't allow them in, you'll never experience them. That's not destiny. That's a script. A script you now have the power to edit. Start small. Pay attention to what your mind focuses on in moments of stress, in moments of joy. What does it dismiss? What does it exaggerate? That's your filter talking. Then ask yourself, what would someone with a different filter see here? A confident person sees a challenge and steps forward. A fearful person sees the same challenge and retreats. A worthy person receives a compliment and embraces it. An unworthy person deflects or denies it. Same moment, different filter, different outcome, different life. And the key to shifting your filter is exposure. Expose yourself to new ideas, new people, new environments, new beliefs. Not once, repeatedly. This isn't about pretending you're someone else. It's about updating the script so that your subconscious starts believing in something better. Because when your filter changes, your entire world changes. You'll start noticing doors where you once saw walls. You'll hear opportunities in conversations that used to intimidate you. You'll feel a sense of ease in situations that used to trigger panic. You'll stop living in reaction and start living in creation. So, as we move forward, the next step is to uncover the origin of those filters. Where were they born? Who put them there? And how do you begin to rewrite them at the source? Because the more you understand the mechanics of your subconscious, the more power you'll have to shape the reality it's creating. You've probably said it before. I overthink everything. Or I can't control my emotions. Or why do I keep doing this even when I know better? But the truth is, you're not doing those things. You're experiencing them. And the one experiencing them is not the thought, not the emotion, and not even the action. It's you, the observer. But somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing that distinction. Somewhere, you merged your identity with your programming. And that is the moment you lost control. Let's rip the curtain back. Your thoughts are not you. They are not facts. They are not truths. They are not reliable indicators of what's real or what matters. They are simply echoes of past experiences, old beliefs, and conditioned patterns. And unless you make that separation, you'll keep living a life that was never really yours to begin with. Thoughts arise. That's what they do. Just like clouds appear in the sky. But you are not the clouds. You are the sky. You are the space in which those thoughts appear. And the moment you become aware of this truth, not just intellectually, but experientially. You shift from being a prisoner of your mind to its master. Let's go deeper. Most people assume their thoughts are the result of logic, that they analyze, consider, then conclude. But neuroscience shows the opposite. Your brain fires off a response, often in the subconscious, and then your conscious mind creates a story to justify it. You're not thinking your way through life. You're rationalizing your way through it after decisions have already been made. That's why change feels hard. Because you're trying to overwrite the story without changing the program underneath. Let me give you an example. A man wakes up and immediately checks his phone. Not because he chose to, but because that action has been reinforced every day for years. His brain fires the impulse before he even realizes what he's doing. He didn't decide. He responded. Or take a woman who wants to speak up in a meeting but freezes. She tells herself she's shy, that she lacks confidence. But the freeze happened before the thought. Her body went into a programmed stress response based on a past experience. Maybe a childhood moment of being silenced, mocked, or ignored. The thought came second. The story followed the sensation. This is the loop most people live in. Subconscious pattern, automatic reaction, conscious justification, reinforced belief. And that's why you keep getting the same results. So what's the fix? First, you must stop believing everything you think. You need to become the observer, the silent witness behind the noise. When a thought arises, I can't do this. I'm not ready. I always mess things up. Pause. Don't engage. Just notice. That pause is power. Because in that gap between stimulus and response, you gain choice. You reclaim your ability to decide, not just react. This is the beginning of mental mastery. It's not about forcing yourself to be positive. It's about realizing that your default thoughts are not the voice of truth. They're the voice of repetition. And repetition is not wisdom. It's just a habit. Now here's the next level. Your thoughts are shaped by your emotions, and your emotions are shaped by your physiology. If your body is tense, slouched, shallow breathing, your thoughts will match. If you're moving with confidence, breathing deeply, standing tall, your mind starts responding differently. You are not a floating brain. You are a full system. So to shift your mind, sometimes you have to start with your body. Stand up, shoulders back, deep breath. Now ask, how does that change what I believe about myself in this moment? Because belief doesn't live in your mind alone. It lives in your state. That's why positive thinking doesn't work when you're slumped in self-pity. Your body is broadcasting one frequency, your words another. The subconscious listens to the stronger signal, and that's almost always your state. So mastery begins not by yelling affirmations over your insecurities, but by interrupting the pattern at the root. When the old thought arises, don't argue, don't resist. Just say, that's one version of reality, but it's not the only one. Then change your breath, change your posture, change your action, because action is where the loop breaks. Thinking differently is the first step. Acting differently is the moment the pattern dies. It's when you choose to speak up despite the fear. It's when you move forward even while doubting. It's when you behave like the person you want to become, even when your mind hasn't caught up yet. That's how you send a new signal to your brain. That's how you carve new pathways. And that's how you go from being a victim of your thoughts to the one who rewrites them. So let's be clear. You are not your anxiety. You are not your fear. You are not your doubt, your failure, or your trauma. You are the one observing it all. And the moment you sit in that seat, the seat of awareness, you take back the power that's always been yours. Because now, instead of reacting to life, you respond to it. Now, instead of believing the first thought, you question it. Now, instead of spiraling into old patterns, you interrupt them and choose again. So when the thought comes, "This is too hard. I'm not ready. What if I fail?" Don't argue with it. Just smile and say, "Thanks for your input." Then move anyway, because your thoughts aren't you. And once you stop identifying with them, you start rewriting the script. In the next chapter, we'll explore why your conscious desires often get overpowered and how the subconscious, not logic, is what truly drives your life. You tell yourself you're ready to change. You declare bold goals, set powerful intentions, write affirmations in your journal, and maybe even feel the surge of possibility rise in your chest. But then, almost without realizing it, you find yourself drifting back into old habits, hitting snooze, avoiding discomfort, postponing the project, doubting your worth. And the question that echoes again and again is, why? Why is it so hard to change, even when you truly want to? Because there's a war happening inside you, and your conscious mind isn't the one calling the shots. Let's make this brutally clear. Your conscious desires are like the tip of an iceberg. They're visible, clear, and logical. But beneath the surface, in the vast depth of your subconscious, is where the real power lives. And that power doesn't speak logic. It speaks familiarity. Your subconscious mind doesn't care about your goals. It cares about your survival. And it has learned, through years of repetition, that familiar sakacha safe. That means any new action, even one that would change your life for the better, is flagged as potential danger. That's why you hesitate. That's why you pull back right when things are about to shift. It's not laziness. It's not a character flaw. It's your subconscious protecting you from the unknown. Let's think of your mind like a car. Your conscious mind is the driver. It decides the direction, the goals, the destination. But your subconscious? It's the engine. It controls speed, power, endurance, and momentum. And if your engine isn't aligned with the destination, it doesn't matter how hard you steer. You're not going anywhere. This is why people set goals but never act on them. Why they start with energy but fizzle out within days. Why they vow to stop overthinking but spiral again within hours. Because the driver is yelling, "Let's go," while the engine is pressing the brakes. The subconscious resists change. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it has equated your current patterns with survival. It doesn't know the difference between danger and discomfort. It only knows that what we've always done hasn't killed you yet. So when you try to change, even for the better, it panics. This is why resistance feels like anxiety, self-doubt, procrastination, or even sudden exhaustion. Those aren't signs that you're on the wrong path. They're signs that you're getting close to the edge of your comfort zone, and your subconscious is pulling the emergency brake. But what if you could retrain it? What if, instead of letting your subconscious override your decisions, you could teach it to obey them? That's what we're here to do. Step 1. Recognize that comfort is not the goal. Familiarity is not the same as safety. You've grown up believing that staying the same is smart, cautious, rational. But that's a lie dressed up as logic. Real danger isn't in taking the leap. It's in staying stuck. Step 2. Understand the real role of the subconscious. It's not your enemy. It's your loyal servant. But it's a servant that's been trained by fear, repetition, and emotion, not reason. Which means you can retrain it the same way it was trained. Let's go practical. Every time you make a conscious decision, your subconscious checks it against its database. Is this familiar? If yes, green light. If no, warning signal. But the more you expose it to the new pattern, the more that pattern becomes the new familiar. This is called neural adaptation. It's how your brain evolves. So when you start waking up early, at first it feels like war. Your body resists. Your thoughts scream. But after a few weeks, it becomes automatic. You've installed a new program, or when you start speaking up more, it feels awkward. You stumble, you sweat. But then one day, you say something confidently, and you realize it no longer feels scary. Why? New wiring. The mind adapts through action, not intention. You can read every book, watch every motivational video, recite every affirmation. But if your behavior doesn't change, your programming won't either. This is where most people get stuck. They try to change by thinking differently. But real change requires acting differently, consistently, until the subconscious accepts the new reality. Think of it like training a wild horse. You don't yell at it. You don't reason with it. You show up every day. You lead it. You expose it to new paths, gently, persistently. And over time, it learns to trust you. Your subconscious is the same. It doesn't listen to words. It watches your feet. So if you want to stop procrastinating, you don't need another book on discipline. You need to take the first step, even if it's tiny, even if it's clumsy, even if your mind screams in resistance, because action reclaims control. Let's look at a real-world example. When Muhammad Ali declared, "I am the greatest," he wasn't stating a fact. He was programming his mind. He was telling his subconscious, "This is who we are now." And then he trained and fought and proved it until his subconscious caught up. Or take someone like Oprah Winfrey, who grew up in poverty and trauma. If she had listened to the default programming of her upbringing, she would have never left the shadows. But she rewrote the story. Through relentless action, new environments, and daily evidence of her worth. You can do the same, but you have to stop negotiating with your fear. You have to act as if the person you want to become is already you. Because here's the secret. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and rehearsed. It only knows what you show it repeatedly, with emotional intensity. So act, show up, move, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because that's the signal that you're writing new code. And soon, what once felt unnatural will become automatic. What once triggered panic will trigger power. And what once felt like resistance will become momentum. In the next section, we'll expose how your comfort zone became a cage and how to escape it one step at a time. You think you're safe, you think you're comfortable, but the truth is, you're trapped. Not in a physical cage, but in one far more dangerous. Your comfort zone. It doesn't have walls, it doesn't lock behind you, but it holds you just the same, with invisible chains made of routine, fear, and familiarity. And every time you hesitate to take a risk, every time you say, "maybe later," every time you stick to what's known even when it's unfulfilling, you tighten those chains yourself. See, the comfort zone isn't really comfortable. It's familiar. There's a difference. Real comfort comes from growth, confidence, expansion. Familiarity is just what your subconscious has labeled as safe, even if it's suffocating you. Let's be blunt. Your comfort zone is lying to you. It whispers that staying where you are is smarter, safer, more responsible. It tells you that discomfort is danger, that fear means stop. But those messages aren't truth. They're security signals from an outdated operating system, one that equates sameness with survival. Thousands of years ago, that wiring kept us alive. New environments could mean predators. New foods could mean poison. New tribes could mean death. But today, that same wiring activates when you want to start a business, speak in public, ask for what you're worth, or pursue something that sets your soul on fire. Your brain screams, "Warning!" But there's no tiger, no fire, no famine, just a leap into the unknown. And that's where your life actually begins. So let's strip away the illusion. The comfort zone feels like protection, but it's actually restriction. It's not a sanctuary, it's a ceiling. And the longer you live inside it, the more your potential atrophies. Muscles weaken when unused. So does courage. So does confidence. So does vision. Look around your life. Where are you playing small? Not because you want to, but because it's familiar. Where are you settling? Not because it satisfies, but because it's safe. Where are you pretending not to want more? Because wanting more would require you to stretch beyond who you've always been. This is the cage. This is the prison. And its bars are made of habit. And here's the worst part. The longer you stay there, the more your subconscious begins to hard code the walls. It starts believing this is all there is. It stops looking for doors. It stops dreaming. It stops pushing. It decides this small life must be your truth. But it's not. It's just your training. So how do you break free? You challenge the conditioning. You lean into the edge. You train your brain to see discomfort not as a red light, but as a green one. Growth always hides behind resistance. It's a universal law. Muscles tear to grow. Skills sharpen through failure. Confidence is built by doing things before you feel ready, not after. So start small. Take one action today that disrupts your routine. Speak when you'd usually stay silent. Move when you'd usually hesitate. Say yes when your instinct is to retreat. It doesn't have to be monumental. It just has to be intentional. Because every time you stretch the edge of your comfort zone, you expand it. And what felt terrifying yesterday becomes tomorrow's baseline. Look at anyone you admire. The leaders, the creators, the legends. They didn't get there by staying safe. They didn't wait until the fear was gone. They moved through it. They normalized what others avoided. They trained their minds to interpret fear not as a warning, but as a compass. Let's take Eleanor Roosevelt as an example. A woman who once described herself as painfully shy, socially anxious, and insecure. But she made it a personal mission to do one thing every day that scares you. Not because she was fearless, but because she was willing. And that willingness expanded her comfort zone until she became one of the most respected voices of courage and human rights in history. That's what happens when you refuse to let fear be the deciding voice. Let's be real. Fear won't vanish. Discomfort won't disappear. But your relationship to them can transform. You can train your brain to interpret discomfort as evidence of progress. You can reframe fear as fuel. You can learn to sit with the tension long enough to realize it won't kill you. It will grow you, because the only way out of the cage is through it. You must walk into the unknown, not blindly, but boldly. Your mind will protest. Your body might shake. Your thoughts will tell you to turn back. But each step forward is a new message sent to your subconscious. We're rewriting the map now. This path is safe. This version of me is real, and the subconscious listens. Slowly at first, then faster. It starts reclassifying what was once dangerous as normal. It stops triggering panic when you push your edge. It starts building new neural pathways that make bravery easier next time. That's neuroplasticity in action. But only action rewires. Thoughts are the spark. Movement is the flame. So take the step. Scare yourself a little. Break the pattern. Because what's waiting outside the comfort zone isn't just a bigger life. It's your real self. The one who doesn't settle. The one who speaks with conviction. The one who stops asking for permission to expand. In the next chapter, we'll confront the hidden force behind your hesitation, mental resistance, and why it's not sabotage, but a misunderstood defense mechanism that you now have the power to override. You feel the tension before it starts, that tight pull in your chest when it's time to take action. The sudden fatigue when a new opportunity arises. The flood of overthinking when you finally decide to move. You think something's wrong with you, that you're broken, that maybe you just don't have it in you. But what if that resistance isn't weakness? What if it's not sabotage, but strategy? Your subconscious mind is not trying to destroy your future. It's trying to protect you from anything unfamiliar, uncertain, or perceived as dangerous. The only problem? Its definition of danger is outdated. It's using a map from your past to navigate your present, and that map was drawn in fear. Let's call this what it is: mental resistance. The invisible wall that rises up right when you're about to change, right when things start getting real. Resistance is not an enemy that sneaks in from the outside. It lives in you. It knows your patterns, your insecurities, your excuses. It speaks in your voice. It doesn't shout. It whispers, "You're not ready. What if you fail? Do it tomorrow." And the worst part? It feels logical. It masquerades as wisdom, as practicality, as protection. But its only job is to keep you exactly where you are. Why? Because your subconscious links familiarity with safety, even if that familiarity is misery. It would rather keep you anxious in a known environment than let you step into the unknown and risk thriving. Let's break this down. Your subconscious doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you're alive. And the blueprint it uses to measure that? Your past experiences. If you survived rejection, it registers relationships as risky. If you grew up in scarcity, it equates wealth with threat. If you were criticized for being bold, it labels self-expression as dangerous. This is why you hesitate to speak up, even when you have something to say. This is why you shrink before you shine. This is why self-sabotage feels so personal, because it uses your own memories as its defense mechanism. But it's not you, it's your wiring. It's your brain choosing predictability over possibility. Let's look at an example. Have you ever seen someone begin to succeed, get attention, recognition, a breakthrough, and then suddenly implode? They ghost their commitments. They stop answering calls. They disappear right as things are taking off. That's not laziness. That's resistance in full bloom. Their subconscious has decided, this is too far outside the pattern. We're not safe here. So it pulls the emergency brake, and the person doesn't even know why. They just feel exhausted, unmotivated, stuck. That's the trap. And you've been in it too, but now you see it. So how do you win? First, recognize resistance for what it is. A reflex, not a fact, not a prophecy. A signal that your subconscious is being challenged. Then reframe it. Resistance doesn't mean stop, it means go. It means you're at the edge of growth, that you're stepping into territory your old self doesn't recognize, that you're stretching the pattern, and the pattern is pushing back. But patterns can be broken. Start by facing the resistance, not running from it. Name it. This is fear. This is self-doubt. This is the old program trying to survive. Then do something radical. Move anyway. Because movement is the enemy of resistance, not perfection, not clarity, just movement. You override resistance by taking action before your mind talks you out of it. Don't wait until you feel ready. That feeling won't come. It's built on the other side of action, not before it. Mel Robbins called it the 5-second rule. You have 5 seconds from the moment you feel the impulse to act, before your brain kills the idea. Count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Before your resistance gets a chance to speak. Use it, train it, make it a habit. Next, expose your subconscious to the new pattern slowly, but repeatedly. It's called gradual exposure. If you fear speaking in public, don't wait until the big stage. Speak in small rooms, then build. If you fear rejection, initiate small, low-stakes conversations. If you fear failure, take calculated micro-risks that build evidence that I can handle this. You're not trying to avoid the alarm bells. You're retraining your nervous system to stop ringing them. Every small win becomes new data. Every moment you survive discomfort becomes a notch in the new belief. I can do this. I don't die when I stretch. I'm safe even when I grow. And here's the deepest truth. Resistance isn't just behavioral, it's identity-based. Your subconscious is always working to keep you consistent with who you believe you are. That's why affirmations feel fake when your identity hasn't changed. That's why progress collapses when you still see yourself as the person who never finishes or always messes it up. So you have to shift your identity, not someday, but now. Start saying, I'm the kind of person who takes action. I'm the kind of person who follows through. I move even when I'm scared. Say it, then act in alignment with it. Your subconscious won't believe you at first, but it listens to consistency, not volume. The more you reinforce that identity with behavior, the more your subconscious adjusts. It starts building new circuits, new preferences, new filters, and suddenly, resistance doesn't disappear. It just loses its grip. You still feel the fear, but now you act through it. You still hear the doubt, but now you answer back. You still encounter resistance, but now you use it as a signal that you're moving in the right direction. That's power, and that's what it means to win the internal war, because the real enemy was never fear. It was the decision to obey it. In the next section, we'll move even deeper to where resistance lives, your subconscious programs. And we'll begin the process of identifying the outdated beliefs you inherited, so you can finally begin rewriting them for good. You didn't choose the battlefield. You were born into it. The war didn't start when you set a goal or tried to improve your life. It started the moment your subconscious was shaped by forces outside your control. Family, culture, pain, repetition, and then handed the keys to your future. You were raised, conditioned, and encoded. You weren't taught how to think. You were taught what to think. And now, every day, you walk into life not as a free agent, but as a product of unchallenged scripts running silently beneath the surface. But here's the turning point. Once you see the battlefield, you can start to reclaim the territory. Right now, your subconscious mind is either working for you or against you. It's pulling strings behind the curtain, shaping how you interpret situations, what you expect from yourself, and how much you allow yourself to receive. And the most dangerous thing about it? It feels like you. It feels like your authentic personality. I'm just not a people person. I've always been anxious. I guess I'm just unlucky. No, you're not. That's not your personality. That's programming, installed, repeated, reinforced, accepted. You weren't born to doubt yourself. You were taught to. And that teaching became a loop, a script. Let's look at how this happens. You try something new and fail. Your brain records it. Next time, it pulls up the file. Failure, just danger, avoid. Now you hesitate. You pull back. Your body reacts. And because of that, you fail again, reinforcing the pattern. You get rejected. Your subconscious creates a rule. Speaking up. Pain. So now, anytime you want to express yourself, your heart races, your throat closes, your mind fogs. Not because something's wrong with you, but because your subconscious is following the rules it was given. Now imagine this happening over years, layer after layer of invisible programming, until your beliefs are no longer conscious decisions, but unconscious truths. And the most insidious part? Your mind starts filtering reality to confirm those truths. This is called confirmation bias, and it's one of the most powerful mental traps we live in. Your subconscious hates contradiction. It wants harmony. So if you believe you're unworthy, your brain will highlight every mistake, every criticism, every moment of silence, and interpret it as proof. You could receive 100 compliments and one negative comment. And guess which one your mind will focus on? The one that matches the program. Because deep down, the mind wants to be right more than it wants to be free. But now you see the pattern. You've named the enemy, and that means you can disarm it. Step 1. Identify the belief. Not just on the surface, go deeper. When you set a goal, what's the first emotional reaction that surfaces? Hope or doubt? Excitement or quiet dread? That first flash is often the voice of your subconscious. The one that says, "It won't work. Don't get your hopes up." Or, "Who do you think you are?" Write it down. Don't fight it. Don't rationalize it. Just observe it. Step 2. Trace it. Where did that belief come from? Was it something your parents said? Something a teacher implied? Something you inferred from rejection or embarrassment? Go back. Revisit the origin. Bring it into the light. Because beliefs left in the dark grow stronger. But when examined, they lose their grip. Step 3. Question it. Is this belief objectively true? Is it a universal law? Or just a rule you followed without knowing it? Who would you be if you no longer believed it? What actions would you take? What would become possible? This is where the reprogramming begins. Your subconscious doesn't update through logic. It updates through repetition and emotion. So once you've identified the belief and questioned it, now comes the real work. Replacing it. Start small. Take one belief, just one, and flip it. If you've been carrying, "I always mess things up," shift it to, "I am learning to trust myself." If your loop says, "Success is for other people," shift it to, "Success is now becoming natural to me." Not just as words, but as fuel. Now act from that new belief. Not later, now, because every time you take an action aligned with your new identity, you send a message to your subconscious. This is who we are now. And the subconscious listens to action, not intention. You don't need to believe it fully at first. You just need to behave like you believe it. Because behavior builds belief, not the other way around. Let's say you've been carrying a belief that says, "I'm not a leader." But one day, you speak up in a meeting. You take ownership. You support someone else's growth. That one action becomes evidence. That evidence becomes momentum. That momentum becomes identity. You're no longer trying to become a leader. You are one. Your subconscious catches up. And just like that, you start winning the war. But remember, it's not a single battle. It's a reclaiming, inch by inch, belief by belief, action by action. You take back mental territory that was never meant to be surrendered. You stop being a puppet of the past. You become the architect of your future. Because here's the final truth. Your subconscious does not care what you deserve. It only reflects what you expect. And expectation is built through repetition, experience, and identity. So if you want more, expect more. If you want freedom, build it, act on it, reinforce it. And when resistance rises, when doubt returns, when the old voice whispers its poison, don't fight it. Just smile, because that voice is proof you're rewriting the script. And in the next section, we'll go deeper into how repetition rewires reality, and how the exact same tool that installed your limits can be used to destroy them. Repetition is not boring. It's not redundant. It's not a fallback for the unimaginative. Repetition is the language of the subconscious mind. And if you want to reprogram the internal scripts that have shaped your life for years, scripts of fear, hesitation, unworthiness, and failure, then repetition isn't optional. It's essential. The mind doesn't believe what you tell it once. It believes what it hears every day. This is how your limiting beliefs got installed in the first place. You didn't wake up one day and decide, "I'll believe I'm not good enough." No. That belief came from repetition. Repeated experiences, repeated messages, repeated emotions that eventually solidified into what felt like truth. The same mechanism that installed the problem now becomes the tool to install the solution. Let's make it clear. You're not stuck because you lack motivation. You're stuck because you've repeated certain thoughts, behaviors, and emotional responses for so long that they've become automatic. Your brain, through the power of neuroplasticity, has wired itself to recreate those patterns. Neuroplasticity simply means this: your brain changes based on what you do repeatedly. Neurons that fire together wire together. So when you continually think, "I always fail," your brain connects that thought with the emotion of shame and the behavior of withdrawal. It builds a neural pathway. And the more times you repeat it, think, feel, act, the deeper that path becomes. It becomes a mental highway. Fast, default, automatic. But here's the key. That same brain that learned helplessness can also learn confidence. That same mind that memorized fear can memorize courage. That same nervous system that's conditioned to panic can be conditioned to breathe. If you're willing to repeat something new, think of your brain like a forest. Every thought, every action, every habit is like walking through the trees. The more you walk the same path, the more the grass flattens, the branches move, the way becomes clear. Eventually, it becomes effortless, automatic. But try to forge a new path, and suddenly, it's hard. Tall grass, thick brush, resistance. You have to push through, step by step. It doesn't feel natural. But with every repetition, that new path gets easier. And if you stop walking the old trail, it grows over. The brain doesn't destroy old pathways. It simply strengthens the ones you use most. So what does this mean for you? It means the most powerful act of rebellion against your old identity is doing something new again and again and again, until the old way fades into nothing. It means you don't need to change your entire life overnight. You need to repeat a new pattern enough times that it becomes your default. Let's say you want to build self-worth. Don't just affirm, "I'm worthy" once. Say it daily. Write it. Speak it. Act on it. Surround yourself with environments that reinforce it. And most importantly, behave like it's true, even when it still feels like a lie. Because the brain doesn't respond to what's true. It responds to what's repeated. And the more emotional intensity you attach to that repetition, the faster it rewires. That's why moments of trauma rewire the brain so quickly. They're emotionally charged. But here's the secret. You can reverse engineer this. You can charge your repetitions with positive intensity. Joy, power, clarity, identity. Don't just mutter your affirmations while half asleep. Stand tall, feel the words, move your body, create energy. I am not my past. I choose who I become. My new identity is already unfolding. Say it with power. Anchor it in movement. Make it a ritual. This isn't woo-woo. This is neural science. High emotion plus repetition equals faster rewiring. And faster rewiring means faster transformation. Take athletes, for example. They don't train their bodies by reading about it. They train their bodies by repeating drills thousands of times until the movement becomes reflex. Then they do the same thing mentally. Visualizing every shot, rehearsing every situation. Why? Because the brain doesn't distinguish between real and imagined repetition. That's the power of mental rehearsal. When you vividly imagine taking action, overcoming obstacles, showing up confidently, your brain fires the same neurons as if you were actually doing it. And with repetition, it becomes familiar. It becomes expected. It becomes your new normal. So what are you rehearsing? Every time you imagine failure, rehearse avoidance, or dwell on what could go wrong, you are reinforcing the exact wiring you're trying to escape. But every time you imagine showing up strong, speaking clearly, holding your boundaries, finishing what you start, you're rehearsing your new self. And the brain listens. Now, let's bring it into daily life. You want to wake up earlier? Don't just try it once. Set the alarm. Get up every day at the same time. Your body will resist. But after 2-3 weeks, it adapts. Your rhythm shifts. You want to stop procrastinating? Create a trigger routine. A cue that says, it's time to begin. Sit down at the same time. Play the same music. Focus for 10 minutes. Repeat. The resistance fades. The pathway forms. You want to stop negative self-talk? Interrupt the thought. Replace it. Repeat it. 10 times a day if you have to. That's how reconditioning works. It's not glamorous. It's not instant. But it's unstoppable. Because repetition is not effort. It's momentum. At first, you push. Then, the habit starts pushing you. And that's when you know the new program is taking hold. So stop waiting to feel different before you act different. Start repeating what you want your life to become. And don't let the simplicity fool you. The world is changed by people who repeat the basics until they become unstoppable. In the next section, we'll explore the one ingredient that accelerates rewiring faster than any technique: emotional intensity, and how to combine it with repetition to make transformation not only possible, but inevitable. Repetition builds the path. Emotion fuels the engine. You can repeat a new belief 1,000 times, but if it's flat, cold, mechanical, detached, your subconscious barely notices. But say it once with conviction, with your chest open and your breath grounded, and suddenly it lands differently. Why? Because your subconscious doesn't speak logic. It speaks feeling. Emotion is the language of transformation. Your deepest memories, whether joyful or traumatic, weren't shaped by facts. They were shaped by feeling. The rush of embarrassment in a classroom, the warmth of a parent's praise, the sting of rejection. These moments etched themselves into your nervous system, not because they were repeated endlessly, but because they were emotionally intense. That's why some beliefs took root in a single experience. And it's why change doesn't always take time. It takes impact. So here's the secret most people never learn. You can use this same mechanism to rewrite yourself on purpose. You can charge your affirmations. You can infuse your new identity with emotional electricity. And when you do, your brain lights up, your neurons fire, and your subconscious listens. Let's make this real. When you say, I am worthy, but inside you feel hollow, hesitant, uncertain, your subconscious goes, that's not real. We're discarding it. But when you say, I am worthy, and you say it standing tall, fists clenched, voice powerful, breathing deep, you send a different signal. You trigger your nervous system. You activate your emotional core. And now, the subconscious pays attention. It says, this matters. Think of it like branding a new belief into your system. Heat alone doesn't brand steel. Pressure alone doesn't either. It takes heat and pressure, repetition and emotion. Every time you repeat a new identity with emotional weight, you etch it deeper. That's why visualization works best when it's not just imagery, but embodied. Don't just see yourself succeeding. Feel the pride of the moment. Don't just picture confidence. Become it in your body. Walk like it. Talk like it. Move like it. Your subconscious is watching. Always. And it doesn't care what you say. It cares what you feel consistently. So how do you generate emotional intensity? Start with the body. Your posture, your breathing, your gestures, these shape your emotional state. That's not philosophy, that's physiology. Try this. Slump your shoulders, drop your head, and say, "I am powerful." It won't feel true. Your body contradicts it. Now stand tall, chest lifted, eyes forward. Say it again. Different, isn't it? The belief didn't change. The body did. And that shift created emotional alignment. Emotion doesn't just come from thought. It comes from motion. Want to feel different? Move different. Use your physiology as a lever to activate emotion, and emotion as the lever to install new beliefs. That's why rituals matter. That's why repetition needs rhythm. That's why movement matters more than meditation when you're trying to shake off an old identity. The body carries memory. It also carries the power to create new ones. And once emotion gets involved, you accelerate change. Here's the science. When an experience is emotionally charged, it activates the amygdala, your brain's emotional center. The amygdala tells the hippocampus, "This matters. Remember this." Synapses fire more rapidly. Neural pathways form faster. That's why trauma scars so quickly, and why peak states can rewire just as fast if used intentionally. So now you know what most people don't. You can create intentional emotional experiences to rewire your mind. You don't have to wait for a breakthrough moment. You make it. Here's how. Identify the new belief. Make it short, clear, powerful. I am unshakable. I finish what I start. I speak with clarity. Attach emotion. Link it with something visceral. A memory of strength. A visual of success. A sound. A song. A moment that made you feel alive. Anchor the belief to that. Use the body. Say it while moving. Walk, train, stretch, dance. Let the belief live in your physiology. Repeat in peak states. Say it when you're energized, not passive. Prime your nervous system. Morning routines. Post-workout. While listening to music. Tie the belief to moments of power. Stack wins. After you take an action aligned with the new belief, reinforce it immediately. Say it again. Celebrate it. Anchor it. That's when it sticks. This is how you go from trying to believe to becoming the belief. Let's be clear. This isn't hype. This is how the military conditions soldiers, how athletes visualize gold medals, how public speakers conquer stage fright, how trauma therapists reverse phobias. It's not random. It's repetition plus emotion. Reprogramming. And you can do it without needing a life crisis, without waiting for the universe to nudge you. You create the emotion. You engineer the momentum. So next time you say, "I am becoming unstoppable," don't just whisper it. Say it like your future depends on it, because it does. Now, let's look at what happens after the belief begins to take root. There's a shift, a moment where the new path feels natural, where you don't have to force the action anymore, where the resistance fades and the alignment begins. It's what we call identity integration. And in the next section, we'll explore exactly how that shift happens, and how to build an identity so solid that your subconscious has no choice but to obey it. You've been repeating the new belief. You've infused it with emotion. You've taken action even when it felt unnatural. And then, one day, it clicks. You wake up and it doesn't feel forced anymore. You say the words and they feel real. You do the action and it flows instead of resists. You look at yourself not as someone trying to change, but as someone who has changed. This is the tipping point. The transformation from effort to identity. See, behavior is what you do. Identity is who you believe you are. and your subconscious will always pull you back into alignment with your identity. That's why change fails when it's only surface level. If deep down you still believe you're the person who gives up, no amount of willpower will override that in the long term. Willpower might start the fire. Identity keeps it burning. So here's the truth most people miss. Lasting change isn't about trying harder. It's about being different. You don't need to force new habits forever. You need to become the kind of person who does them naturally. I'm the kind of person who works out. I'm the kind of person who finishes what they start. I'm the kind of person who speaks confidently. This is identity-based change. And once your subconscious accepts a new identity, your behaviors follow, not out of obligation, but out of congruence. Because nothing drives human behavior more than the need to stay consistent with who we believe we are. This is why people can't hold on to results they don't believe they deserve. Why lottery winners go broke. Why people lose weight and gain it back. Why success sabotages those who never saw themselves as successful. It's not because they're broken. It's because the old identity was still running in the background. Let's say someone builds a business. They hustle, push, grow, grind, and then suddenly they stall. They procrastinate. They avoid. Why? Because their outer success has outpaced their inner story. They still see themselves as the underdog, the struggler, the outsider. So their subconscious pulls them back, not to punish them, but to restore internal balance. The mind doesn't like identity dissonance. It will sacrifice results to preserve self-image. So if you want your progress to stick, if you want your transformation to last, you have to install the new identity at the core. Let me say it clearly. You must become the person first, before the world reflects it back to you. That means choosing the identity before the evidence. It means saying, I'm disciplined, before your habits prove it. It means saying, I'm confident, while your voice still shakes. It means saying, I'm powerful, while part of you still doubts. Not to fake it, but to train it. Because the subconscious doesn't care if it's true, it only cares if it's repeated. Eventually, what felt like a stretch becomes the standard. Let's take a real-world example. Serena Williams. Was she always a champion? No. But she trained like one before she had the title. She spoke like one before the world believed it. Her identity wasn't built after winning. It was built before. And that identity shaped every decision, every practice, every performance. Your identity is your compass. It decides what's acceptable, what's expected, what's non-negotiable. So ask yourself, what do I identify as? Not what do I want to be? What have I accepted as who I am? And more importantly, who would I need to become to live the life I truly want? Now take that version and study it. How do they walk? How do they speak? How do they respond to stress? To failure? To success? Start behaving like that person, not next year, now. That's not pretending. That's embodying. That's reverse engineering your future. The world doesn't give you what you want. It mirrors who you are. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. Because identity is malleable. It's programmable. And just like you learn to be insecure, hesitant, small, you can learn to be confident, decisive, powerful. You just have to flood your subconscious with enough evidence that the old identity no longer makes sense. Stack every win. Celebrate every aligned action. Speak the identity. Visualize it. Move like it. Dress like it. Surround yourself with people who reflect it. And here's the key. Remove everything that reinforces the old identity. Your environment matters. If your home is cluttered with reminders of the past, clean it. If your social media feeds reinforce self-doubt, change them. If your relationships pull you back into old patterns, draw boundaries. You can't build a new identity in a space that worships the old one. This is not cosmetic, it's neurological. The cues around you shape your behaviors. The behaviors reinforce your identity, and the identity determines your results. You must create a feedback loop of power. Let's break it down. New identity, new actions, new results. Reinforced identity. And it starts with a choice. A decision to no longer argue for the version of you that wants to stay small. You might think, but what if I don't fully believe it yet? Good. That means you're on the edge. That means you're expanding. That means your nervous system is trying to catch up, and you're giving it something new to believe in. Let it be uncomfortable. Let it feel unfamiliar. That's the space where rebirth happens. Because one day, you'll wake up, and the old voice, the one that said, "You can't," will feel like a stranger. You'll look back and wonder how you ever believed it. And that moment, that's when the identity has been installed. That's when the transformation has taken root. And that's when the world starts to shift. Not because it changed, but because you did. In the next section, we'll explore how the subconscious processes imagination like reality, and how to use mental rehearsal as a tool to accelerate identity alignment and lock in your future self. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Let that sink in. If you vividly imagine failing, your body will respond with tension, your breath will shorten, and your heart will race, as if the failure were actually happening. And if you vividly imagine succeeding, the same thing. The nervous system lights up, neurons fire, chemicals shift, and your body prepares for action. This is the hidden gateway. Your imagination is not just fantasy, it's programming. The images you play in your mind aren't passive entertainment. They're blueprints. And your subconscious uses them to build the version of you it believes is most real. So the question becomes, what mental movie have you been playing on repeat? Is it one where you shrink, fail, get rejected, mess up, disappoint? Or is it one where you speak with clarity, move with confidence, and rise even when it's hard? Most people rehearse their worst-case scenarios far more often than they rehearse success. They don't even know they're doing it. But every fear-based thought is a rehearsal. Every time you picture things going wrong, you're literally giving your subconscious a dress rehearsal for failure. But here's the power. You can reverse that. You can consciously direct your mental rehearsal. You can choose the scenes, the emotions, the music, the pace. You can train your brain for success before you ever take the first external step. Let's talk science. Studies on elite athletes have shown that visualizing practice activates nearly identical brain regions as physically doing the practice itself. That means you can improve performance without even moving, simply by mentally rehearsing the movements with clarity and intensity. But this doesn't just apply to physical performance. It applies to identity, to emotional states, to confidence, to transformation. You can mentally rehearse speaking with strength, setting boundaries, owning your voice, succeeding in front of others, walking into the room like you belong there. And the more vividly you do it, the more your subconscious begins to accept it. You're not just imagining, you're rewiring. Let's break it down into steps. 1. Create a clear mental scene. Don't just think abstractly, I want to be confident. Visualize a specific scenario, walking into a meeting, walking onto a stage, sitting down to write, having that hard conversation. See the details, the lighting, the room, the expression on your face, the posture of your body. Make it real. 2. Engage all your senses. What do you hear? What do you feel in your body? What are you wearing? What's the energy in the room? Bring it to life. The more sensory input, the more the brain believes it's real. 3. Attach elevated emotion, confidence, pride, peace, joy, gratitude. These are high-frequency emotions. When you feel them while visualizing success, you hardwire the brain to associate those feelings with that action. This is critical. Emotion is what stamps memory into place. You want your imagined success to feel so good, so fulfilling, that your brain starts craving it, not resisting it. 4. Rehearse regularly, daily if possible, even 5 to 10 minutes a day. Think of it like brushing your brain. You're cleaning out the clutter and reinforcing the self-image you want to live in. 5. Pair visualization with real action. Don't just visualize and wait. Use visualization to prime your system, then take small steps in the real world. Even a micro-action makes the imagined reality feel closer, more attainable. Here's a simple truth. The subconscious can't ignore what it sees and feels repeatedly. That means if you show it a powerful version of you, over and over, it begins to shift its identity anchors. And once that identity changes, your behavior follows naturally. Let's use a real-life story to ground this. Jim Carrey, long before he was famous, used to drive into the Hollywood Hills and visualize producers praising him. He wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered and dated it 5 years in the future. He kept visualizing, he kept believing, and in 1994, exactly 5 years later, he received $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. Was it magic? No. It was mental rehearsal aligned with belief, repetition, and persistent action. The visualization didn't do the work for him, but it trained his nervous system to normalize the idea of success. So when opportunity came, he didn't flinch, and that's the goal. Normalize your next level. Stop imagining it as distant. Start experiencing it now, internally, until your brain starts scanning your external reality for ways to match it, because that's what the subconscious does. It doesn't create truth, it enforces belief. If you believe success is unfamiliar, it will block it. If you believe confidence is unnatural, it will reject it. But if you make those things familiar through rehearsal, your brain begins to accept them as who we are now. That's the real use of imagination, not as escape, but as instruction. And don't stop with visualization. Use language to reinforce it. After you rehearse, speak the belief out loud. Geez, I am becoming the person I've always known I could be. My mind obeys my vision, not my fear. I've seen it in my mind. Now I allow it in my life. Your voice becomes the anchor. Your breath becomes the channel. Your identity becomes the engine. This is how you install a new future, because everything you want to create begins here, in the invisible world of thought, emotion, and expectation. And in the next section, we'll pull back the curtain on the most deceptive trick the mind plays on you, confusing certainty with truth, and how to use that knowledge to dismantle even your deepest limiting beliefs. Your brain isn't designed to tell you what's true. It's designed to keep you alive. And to the brain, truth is irrelevant if it contradicts what feels familiar. This is the core of the trap. Your mind values certainty over reality. It would rather repeat a painful belief it understands than adopt a liberating one it doesn't. Think about that. If your subconscious has spent years believing, "I'm not enough," it will treat any experience that suggests otherwise as suspicious. You get praised, you downplay it. You achieve something, you tell yourself you just got lucky. You receive love, you wait for it to vanish. Because these things don't match the certainty your brain clings to, even if that certainty is based on a lie. This is how self-sabotage is born. Not from hatred of self, but from loyalty to the familiar. You've lived with your old beliefs for so long. Your nervous system has learned to identify with them. You've learned to confuse comfort with truth. But comfort is not a compass. Familiarity is not fact. And until you understand that your mind is prioritizing consistency, not liberation, you'll keep circling the same internal cage, calling it safety. Let's go deeper. Your subconscious is built to seek coherence. It wants your external experiences to match your internal narrative. So when your outer world starts to shift, when you gain recognition, earn more, feel happier, your inner world goes on high alert. This doesn't match who I think I am, it says. Abort mission. This is why people often experience an emotional crash after a big win. It's why good news sometimes creates anxiety. It's why receiving something you thought you wanted can feel wrong. It's not because the thing is bad. It's because your internal blueprint can't yet accept it. So the mind finds a way to reset the balance. It delays the call. It ruins the opportunity. It withdraws. It picks a fight. It breaks the progress. Not because you're weak, because your subconscious is restoring identity equilibrium. Here's the truth that sets you free. Your brain will destroy anything that threatens its version of you, unless you train it to expect something better. Let that land. This is why transformation isn't just about doing new things. It's about becoming someone new in the eyes of your own mind. That means teaching your subconscious that success is safe, that confidence is normal, that peace isn't a trap, that joy doesn't have to be earned through struggle. It means replacing certainty with expansion. So how do you do that? By making the unfamiliar familiar. By exposing your nervous system to the new reality until it no longer triggers alarms, until the body stops panicking, until the mind says, "We've seen this before. This is okay now." This process has a name: desensitization. Psychologists use it to treat fears and trauma. You start small. You increase exposure. You let the body feel discomfort without acting on it. Over time, the reaction fades. The trigger dissolves. The fear loses its grip. You can do the same with belief. Let's say deep down you believe, "I always fail." You don't just repeat the opposite. You show yourself success daily. You take small wins and frame them as proof. You hold eye contact longer. You complete that small task you've been avoiding. You speak one truth out loud. You write the post. You hit send. Each time, you're whispering to your subconscious, "See, that old belief isn't always right." And if you keep stacking those whispers, you drown out the lie. Another technique is called pattern interruption. This is when you catch the old belief in the act and interrupt it with a new input. When your mind says, "This won't work," you stop. You breathe. You say, "That's one voice, but not the only one." Then you take action anyway. You don't wait for belief to feel comfortable. You create comfort by repeating belief in motion. Let's look at a historical example. Thomas Edison tried over 1,000 different filaments for the light bulb before he found one that worked. He wasn't delusional. He wasn't lucky. He simply refused to allow failure to become his certainty. Each attempt was a statement to his brain. Keep expanding. This is not the end. His identity wasn't inventor who failed. It was inventor who learns. And that identity guided his behavior until the results caught up. So ask yourself, what identity is your brain protecting? What belief does your mind refuse to let go of, even though it hurts? And more importantly, what new certainty do you want to build? Because you can build a new mental baseline. You do it through exposure, showing your brain a new version of life repeatedly, reframing, interpreting discomfort as progress, not warning, interruption, catching the old narrative and refusing to finish the script, reinforcement, anchoring wins, no matter how small, as evidence of who you're becoming. And the magic? You don't need to believe it fully right now. You only need to repeat it with intention long enough that your subconscious says, "Fine, this is who we are now." Because the mind doesn't argue with consistency, it accepts it. So give it something new to accept. Make peace familiar. Make abundance normal. Make strength expected. And when the old belief returns, and it will, you won't panic. You'll just notice it. Thank it for trying to protect you, and move forward anyway. Because now you know, truth is not what feels certain. Truth is what you decide to reinforce. And in the next section, We'll explore how your words, the things you say silently and aloud, are not just reflections of belief, but commands that train your subconscious what to obey and what to ignore. Words are not harmless. They are not background noise. They are not idle decorations stitched into your day. Every word you speak, out loud or in silence, is a command, a cue, a script you hand to your subconscious mind and say, "Here, run this," and it will, because your subconscious doesn't argue, it doesn't debate, it doesn't analyze, it obeys. It listens for repetition, it listens for emotion, and most of all, it listens to language. This is why affirmations aren't magic, but they are powerful. Not because they make things happen instantly, but because they change the way your subconscious is instructed to behave. Most people don't realize that their most destructive beliefs are hiding in their most casual phrases. I'm just not good with people. I'm terrible with money. I never follow through. That's just how I've always been. Said with a laugh, maybe, or a sigh, or as a throwaway comment in conversation. But your subconscious doesn't get the joke. It just listens. It takes that phrase and says, "Ah, that's our identity. Let's filter experience accordingly." So you unconsciously make decisions that prove yourself right. Not because you want to stay stuck, but because your brain wants to stay coherent with your language. Let me say that again. Your language locks in your identity. If you call yourself lazy, you'll feel drained even when you try to act. If you call yourself shy, you'll shrink even when no one's judging. If you call yourself unlucky, you'll overlook opportunities literally sitting in front of you. You are programming your mind with every sentence you speak. So what do? You speak a new language. Not once. Not when you feel good. Not when it's convenient. Every day, until the new language becomes the new law. Let's make this practical. You want to shift a belief? Shift the words first. Old. I always mess this up. New. I'm learning to master this every time I try. Old. Nothing ever works out for me. New. Everything is training me for my next breakthrough. Old. I suck at this. New. I'm just a beginner, and beginners grow fast. The goal is not to lie to yourself. The goal is to speak to your future self as if they're already here. Because the way you talk about yourself becomes the way you think of yourself. And the way you think of yourself determines how you act, what you tolerate, and how high you reach. Words are not decorations, they are definitions. You define your worth, your potential, your reality, every time you speak. And don't think you can escape this just because you're quiet. Self-talk is even more powerful than what you say aloud. The private narrative you loop in your head is the most constant and persuasive voice your subconscious hears. So listen carefully to the phrases you whisper when no one's around. What do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? When someone compliments you? When you're alone with your doubts? That voice, that internal script, is writing your reality. And here's the breakthrough. You don't have to believe the new words to begin speaking them. Belief comes through repetition. You say it. You feel awkward. You say it again. You feel fake. You say it again. You feel unsure. You keep saying it. And one day, without warning, it feels true. Why? Because your subconscious finally gave in. It accepted the new command. It rewired the default, and your behavior changed to match it. This is why intentional language is a daily practice, not a one-time event. You don't change your life by yelling one affirmation in the mirror. You change your life by making your language match your future more than your past. Let's use a real-life metaphor. Your words are like a thermostat. They don't reflect the current temperature. They set it. If you want to raise the heat, raise the language. If you want to change how you feel, how you act, and what you attract, speak it into form. Even science backs this up. Studies in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, show that the structure of language influences the way we code experience. Change the language, change the meaning. Change the meaning, change the identity. Change the identity, change the action. This is why elite athletes, Navy SEALs, and peak performers obsess over language. They don't say, "I hope I make it." They say, "I've already won. I just haven't finished yet." It's not ego, it's programming, and now it's your turn. You don't need to recite pages of mantras. Just choose a handful of power phrases that become your mental operating system. Here are a few. I don't break, I reset. I speak like my future is already here. I move before I'm ready. I make decisions like someone who trusts themselves. And I don't rise to the occasion. I rise to my training. Repeat them during transitions. Repeat them in the mirror. Repeat them when you're afraid. Repeat them when you don't feel like it, because that's when the rewiring happens. Words are bridges, from who you've been to who you're becoming, from where you are to where you belong, from hesitation to conviction. So speak like it matters, because it does. In the next section, we'll dive into the mechanics of focus. Why distraction is not just a nuisance, but a form of internal sabotage, and how mastering your attention is the final doorway to mastering your mind. Focus is not just about productivity. It's not just about getting things done, checking boxes, or organizing your to-do list. Focus is power. It's the ability to decide what reality you will live in. Because whatever you give your attention to becomes your experience. And in a world that profits from your distraction, reclaiming your focus is an act of rebellion. A declaration that your mind, your time, and your energy are yours again. Let's be clear, you don't lose focus because you're weak. You lose focus because your environment is engineered to steal it. Apps, notifications, endless scrolling, multitasking, shiny objects, information overload. Every ping you hear is a trigger. Every swipe is a dopamine drip. Every interruption is a needle pulling you out of your future and stitching you back into your old default. And the cost? You stop building momentum. You stop finishing what matters. You stop thinking deeply. You stop hearing your own inner voice. Your potential dies, not in a fire, but in a fog. Because the real threat to mastery isn't failure, it's fragmentation. A scattered mind cannot create a focused life. And the world you want, the growth you crave, the transformation you feel burning inside, can't be downloaded in the background. It requires presence. It demands attention. So if you want to rewire your identity, install new beliefs, and become the person who no longer hesitates, then your attention must be treated as sacred. Not optional, not flexible, sacred, because your focus is the gateway to your subconscious. Whatever you consistently focus on, you install. Let's say you start your day scrolling social media. Within minutes, your mind is comparing, reacting, consuming. You've already told your subconscious, this is important. This is reality. This is what deserves my attention. You've trained your brain to crave novelty over depth. But if instead you begin your day with silence, intention, and rehearsal of the identity you're building, then that becomes your reality. That becomes the lens your subconscious filters the world through. You're always focusing on something. The question is it worth becoming? Because what you focus on expands. Focus on problems, they get bigger. Focus on solutions, you find them faster. Focus on who you used to be, you stay there. Focus on who you're becoming, you accelerate. And this isn't just theory, it's neurology. The reticular activating system, RAS, in your brain is a network of neurons that acts like a filter. It decides what you pay attention to and what gets ignored. And what trains the RAS? Your focus. Whatever you consistently focus on, your RAS locks in as important. So if you're always focused on scarcity, your brain will ignore abundance. If you focus on what's wrong, your brain will dismiss what's right. But if you focus on possibility, growth, and your new identity, your brain will begin highlighting opportunities that align with it. This is why mastering focus isn't just about performance. It's about reprogramming reality. So how do you do it? Let's get tactical. 1. Guard the first 60 minutes of your day. The first hour after waking is when your brain is most impressionable, operating in theta and alpha wave states. This is prime subconscious programming time. Do not waste it on garbage. No scrolling, no emails, no reactive input. Use it to reinforce your identity. Affirm your direction. Move your body. Visualize your future. Speak your truth. You are either programming your mind, or it's being programmed for you. 2. Create a focus ritual. Before you sit down to work or reflect, build a routine that tells your brain, this is sacred time. It could be music, lighting a candle, putting on noise-canceling headphones. Doesn't matter. What matters is consistency. Ritual builds context. Context trains focus. 3. Practice deep presence reps. Set a timer. Choose a task. No distractions. Fully engage. Even 25 minutes of full focus a day rewires your brain for presence. It's not about hours. It's about intensity. You're not trying to focus for the sake of efficiency. You're training your nervous system to hold energy instead of leaking it. 4. Eliminate your open loops. Every unfinished task, unmade decision, unread message sits like a weight in your mental RAM. Close them. Decide. Delete. Delegate. Clarity creates space, and space is where focus breathes. 5. Decide what deserves your attention. At the beginning of the day, ask, what are the 3 most identity-aligned actions I can take today? Then do them before the world hijacks your mind. Don't get caught reacting all day. Choose response over recoil. 6. Protect your environment. Willpower is overrated. Design is everything. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Clear visual clutter. If you want to be focused, make distraction harder than doing the work. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation ever will. Now, let's be honest. Focus isn't comfortable. It's not entertaining. It won't give you a dopamine hit every 5 seconds. But focus is freedom. Focus is momentum. Focus is the invisible thread that ties identity to reality. And the deeper you train it, the more aligned your internal and external worlds become. You'll stop flinching, stop hesitating, stop starting over. You'll finish, you'll feel, you'll focus. And your mind will stop being your enemy and become your most loyal ally. So here's your practice. Decide what matters. Protect your time like your future depends on it, because it does. And when distraction calls, don't answer, because you've got a new mission now. And in the next section, we'll turn to the final chain that keeps most people stuck, the environment they live in, and how mastering what surrounds you is just as vital as mastering what's inside of you. You can rewire your mind. You can repeat the beliefs. You can feel the emotions. You can build the habits. But if you return to the same toxic environment, filled with the same distractions, the same influences, and the same identity triggers, then your transformation won't last. Not because you're weak, because you're surrounded by reminders of who you used to be. And the subconscious is always listening. This is the truth most self-help advice skips. Your environment is programming you every second without your permission. The room you wake up in, the people you speak to, the noise you consume, the space you exist in. They're all feeding your subconscious cues. Cues about what's normal, cues about what's expected, cues about who you are. And unless you intentionally shape that environment to match your new identity, your subconscious will keep dragging you back to the old one. Think of it this way. You are trying to grow roots in soil that was never meant to support your future. You're trying to speak boldly in rooms that only reward silence. You're trying to stay focused in a space built for distraction. You're trying to feel powerful in a place where you once felt powerless every single day. And it's not working. Not because your desire isn't real, but because your context is contradicting your intention. Here's the rule. You can't consistently act out of alignment with your environment. Eventually, something will break. And more often than not, it's your momentum. So what do? You don't just upgrade your mindset. You upgrade your surroundings. You become the designer of the signals your mind receives. Start with this question. What in my current environment reflects who I've been, rather than who I'm becoming? Be brutal. Be honest. Because clarity comes before control. Look around your room. Are the walls inspiring or draining? Is your desk a command center or a clutter trap? Does your phone deliver clarity or chaos? Does your wardrobe match your power or your past? Every object is an anchor. Everything you see regularly is reinforcing a message. This isn't aesthetic, it's energetic, and you've felt it. You've felt the difference between walking into a clean, minimal space versus a cluttered one. You've felt the weight of environments where you felt small, compared to spaces where you felt expansive. Your nervous system remembers, so when you choose to build a new identity, don't just change your thoughts. Change the stimuli that your mind associates with home. Here's how. 1. Physically declutter your space. Remove anything you don't want to be emotionally tethered to. Old clothes, trinkets from a past life, piles of reminders of who you used to be. This isn't minimalism. This is mental hygiene. Less clutter, fewer triggers, more room for creation. 2. Curate your digital world. Your phone, your browser, your inbox. These are doorways to distraction or direction. Unfollow accounts that drain you. Mute notifications that interrupt your focus. Organize your device like your identity depends on it. Because it does. 3. Set up identity-aligned reminders. Sticky notes with power beliefs. Phone wallpapers that reinforce your values. Daily alarms named after your affirmations. Train your environment to reflect who you're becoming, not who you were. 4. Audit your relationships. This is hard, but essential. Ask, who in my life reinforces the old version of me? Who keeps you playing small through guilt, familiarity, or passive sabotage? Who drains your energy the moment you try to stretch? Who can't celebrate you unless they're above you? Your subconscious learns from the people around you. And if everyone around you is committed to their limitations, your growth will feel like betrayal. But it's not betrayal. It's evolution. And real growth often requires distance. That doesn't mean you cut everyone off. It means you choose proximity with intention. Get around people who normalize boldness. People who speak your next level as casually as you once spoke self-doubt. People who don't just inspire you, but require you to rise. And when you can't find those people in person, build the environment virtually. Books, podcasts, audiobooks like this one. Yes, even this, right now, is part of your environment. You chose to tune into this voice instead of the noise of your past. That is environmental design in action, and it matters more than you think, because the moment you shift your environment to match your intention, you stop battling your surroundings and start being supported by them. You create alignment, and alignment reduces resistance. In an aligned space, progress feels like flow, not friction. You don't have to fight to be disciplined. You just are, because everything around you reinforces it. And that's the final step most people miss. They do the inner work, but then they stay in a world built for the version of them they're trying to leave behind. It's like upgrading your operating system while refusing to throw out the floppy disks. So here's your action. Redesign the inputs, curate the signals, audit the cues, make your space a mirror of your future, not a museum of your past. And when you do that, when your environment starts echoing your new identity, your mind will follow. It won't fight. It won't resist. It won't second guess. Because everything it sees, hears, and feels will whisper the same message. This is who we are now. In the next and final content section, we'll bring everything together. The thoughts, the beliefs, the habits, the identity, the actions, the attention, the environment, and prepare you for the ultimate shift. Living from your highest self every single day without needing external permission or motivation. This is where it all comes together. The beliefs you've rewritten, the thoughts you've challenged, the actions you've taken, the words you've spoken, the identity you've begun to embody, the environment you've reshaped. You're no longer a passive passenger in your own mind. You're no longer reacting to old scripts and calling it personality. You've stopped negotiating with fear and started responding with power. But now comes the final shift. Because transformation isn't complete when you change how you think. It's complete when you change how you live. And the way you live your life, moment to moment, decision to decision, is a reflection of who you've decided you are. Not who your past says you were. Not who your doubt says you might be, but who your vision requires you to be now. This is the space of integration. It's where theory becomes lifestyle, where practice becomes personality, where identity becomes non-negotiable. And it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's not some grand announcement to the world. It's quiet, it's subtle, it's deep. It's the moment you walk into a room and no longer shrink. It's the moment you feel the fear rise and you don't run. It's when someone offers you less than you deserve, and you calmly say no. It's when you catch the old thought creeping back in, and instead of believing it, you just say, not anymore. This is your new default. Not perfection, but presence. Not motivation, but mastery. See, most people spend their lives waiting for permission to rise. They wait for the fear to vanish. They wait for someone to validate their worth. They wait for the world to reflect their value back to them before they dare to believe in it. But not you. You've seen the pattern. You've decoded the resistance. You've reclaimed the territory of your mind. And now, you understand the most important law of all. You do not need to feel ready to act. You need to act until readiness becomes your baseline. You don't need to feel like the person you want to become. You need to live like them. Until your subconscious accepts there is no other option. This is how mastery is built. Not in huge, explosive moments, but in micro-decisions repeated consistently, under pressure, when no one is watching. It's built in the moment you choose to pause instead of react, to journal instead of spiral, to move your body instead of numb it, to reframe instead of complain, to show up instead of shut down. Mastery is a choice, one you make again and again and again, until your life becomes the reflection of that choice. But here's the final unlock. You don't become your highest self by chasing them. You become them by being them. You stop saying, one day I will be confident, and you start saying, I am choosing to embody confidence now. You stop saying, eventually I'll be disciplined, and start saying, I act with discipline today. Because the identity you live from determines the future you create. And it's a future that no longer needs to be imagined. It's a future you are actively installing, brick by brick, thought by thought, word by word, action by action. You've come too far to turn back. You've outgrown the version of yourself who waited, doubted, and made fear the final decision maker. Now, the voice inside you has changed. Now, your nervous system remembers strength, not just survival. Now your default is becoming direction. And from here, you don't need another pep talk. You don't need another breakthrough. You don't need more proof. You just need to move in alignment. Live the reps. Honor the process. Protect your focus. Speak the code. Hold the standard. Expand the edge. And every time the doubt returns, Every time the old voice knocks, just smile. Because now you recognize it, and you no longer answer to it. You answer to the vision, to the calling, to the self that you chose to become. And that changes everything. You've walked through the fire, not the kind that burns your skin, but the kind that burns your limits. You've stared down the mirrors that once lied to you, the beliefs that whispered, "This is just who you are." The thoughts that said, "You'll never change." The habits that wore your name like a second skin. And you didn't flinch. You challenged them. You stripped them away, layer by layer, not to become someone else, but to reclaim who you were always meant to be. Now you know, you were never broken. You were programmed. And now, you are reprogrammed. Not because of magic, not because of luck, but because you showed up. You took responsibility. You built it from the inside out. You faced resistance and moved anyway. You spoke new words when the old ones echoed loud. You chose discipline over dopamine. You rewrote the stories that once caged you. You created space. You shaped identity. You anchored vision. And in doing so, you proved something most people never realize. You are not the prisoner of your mind. You are its architect. Every thought that once controlled you, now you see it for what it is, a suggestion, not a command. Every emotion that once overwhelmed you, now it's a signal, not a sentence. Every pattern that once defined you, now it's raw material for your next evolution. This is the freedom no one can give you, and no one can take away. But now, you stand at a new threshold, because the real journey begins after the internal work is done. It begins in the living of it, in the conversations, in the quiet moments, in the setbacks, in the wins, in the seemingly small choices that build a life of unimaginable magnitude. That's your edge now. You don't need to become perfect. You need to become consistent. You don't need to feel ready. You need to show up anyway. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to stay in alignment with who you've decided to be. Because every time you live from your highest self, the world adjusts, the path clears, the energy shifts. The room feels different when you enter. Not because you're louder, but because you're more real. So the choice now isn't whether you've changed. You have. The choice is whether you'll keep choosing it every single day. Will you keep protecting your mind like your destiny depends on it? Will you keep training your focus, your identity, your energy? Will you keep showing up for the version of you that no longer negotiates with fear? Because that version of you, they're not waiting anymore. They're here, and now it's your move. Will you live from programming or power? Will you keep reacting or start creating? Will you obey fear or lead with vision? The final question is not, can you change your life? You already have. The real question is, will you keep becoming the person you were always meant to be?